Thank you, Debbie and Sharon. I'm going to ask you a number of questions now. So just to say thank you. Thanks for the brief demonstration of how the principle-based process of evaluation and redesign works. Can you tell us more now? Well, actually more generally, what did you learn by evaluating the current service model against the principles?
So, I mean, we've been looking at our services now for the past 3 or 4 years, and the evaluation confirmed our direction of travel and reinforced the approach that we wanted to move to a community-based model. And obviously, we started to develop that prior to COVID. Using this review process, it highlighted what worked and what doesn't work. It allowed us to celebrate our successes, and it also gave us, in very difficult times, some motivation and clarity in relation to the improvements that are needed and our next steps. We've been in this review cycle for quite a while, so it was useful just to reframe it and look at it again with a set of principles to guide us. It highlighted really good elements of person-centered practice, but still the dominant approach was service and building driven. We've said before, the services are centered around the main urbanizations, so closer to home model isn't evident. And other than some small examples, the services are delivered in silos and often based on the clinical or physical needs of the citizen rather than as opposed to a community of interest approach. The packages of support run the risk of being based on what's available and not what actually the person wants. Debbie spoke about not being able to, not knowing what's available, not knowing what I might want to do, and the packages aren't always based on what matters and asset-based conversations. At our point of referral, they're based about getting the person into the day service. Our timetables are informed by the information we get from the person-centered reviews, but we realised that we needed to do more around giving people experiences and options so there was real choice. And the final part of the review identified that parents and carers benefit, absolutely they benefit, but vicariously instead of explicitly.
Great, thanks Sharon, that's an excellent summary. Can you tell us about focusing on how did focusing on the principles enrich the way you thought about the service redesign?
Yes, it helped us to reframe the questions that we ask really about the quality and the future of the service. It brought the principles to the forefront really in our thinking, and it reiterated that actually this is a legislative requirement. It's got to be at the centre of our future planning and our discussions with all stakeholders. And it helped in us explaining to staff that actually it wasn't just Debbie and Sharon's mad ideas. It was, you know, kind of something we have to do. And it gave us a framework to review the delivery model, and it helped us to move us away from our kind of old ways of thinking. Really, it was a fresh pair of eyes, you know. And that was really helpful, and it highlighted that we can use the principles as a basis of discussion with all stakeholders, including with the wider commissioning team as well.
Great, thank you. The redesign has multiple components, including other agencies and community assets. Do you have any reflections on how commissioning activities can help to create such a pattern of supports and opportunities?
Yeah, I think for our internal services to deliver against the principles successfully, we need to be involved in a whole community approach. We have good relationships with our commissioners and our contracting officers, but we tend to have limited conversations around one element of the provision. But having the community approach, it feels like we'll be greater than the sum of our parts, and we'll be able to deliver more and more relevant opportunities for people in their own communities. We've gone some way in achieving this. So we now have our learning disability strategy, and that will be the central point that will coordinate and inform our developments, ensuring the quality of provision across the county. But those conversations and the systems need to be more joined up between the provision of service and the commissioning element, because we both want the same things. The commissioning activities assessment are asset-based and outcome-focused, but somewhere there's a disconnect between that referral process into the services, and we all want to meet local needs, meet needs locally and reflect outcomes and not outputs.
And also the monitoring and evaluation part of the commissioning cycle needs to focus on the principles of the Act, particularly co-production, I think. And we need to identify those local assets and have a process to connect local people to these and encourage collaboration.
And being the people that actually support the individuals, we're a natural platform for that co-production, because we see people every day, and we've got really good communication frameworks for people, so that joining that up will allow us to deliver on that.
Great, thanks, Sharon. Is there anything else about the process that has been useful?
Yes, I think time is very precious, and we've all got constant demands on us. This process gave us a legitimate reason to stop and think. It having kind of facilitation by external people helped us to have a critical friend, that was non-threatening, and that was really helpful. And by committing to sessions with yourselves, that ensured that we prioritised, and our time wasn't distracted by other things going on. So that was really helpful.
And I think it also encouraged us to think about where we fit, and to understand that we are part of a wider entity to deliver the same thing. So where do we fit with the community, with our commissioners, with the wider council, especially around economic and social value and green issues, and how could we work more smarter with those and our external agencies?
That's great, thank you. Is there anything about the process you think needs to be added or improved?
As the way that we did the review, it was primarily just us as a provider and being able to talk to yourselves as colleagues. For me, the richness will come from involving the citizens and the carers and our contracting and commissioning teams, and our external providers. Like we've said most of the way through this is a whole systems approach, and it needs to involve everybody, because we've been really motivated by this discussion. It's reinvigorated us, especially after the last year where things have been really difficult. I think it would have been more useful for us, for myself in particular, to have given more thought to what we wanted to gain from the process before we started. Because I think we just went, yeah, we'll be involved. We want to do better. We always want to do more, and we want to be better, have better practice. But I think if we thought about it, we could have saved some time and some energy, and maybe got some better results. And also about agreeing to review the progress made. I don't want this to stop here. I want this to carry on, and I'd like somebody to help, not just the citizen, to hold me to account to deliver this, but having a commitment to come back and explain what we've done would actually keep us on track.
That sounds like a great plan, Sharon. We're quite happy to take that and work with you on the commitment. Thank you. Right, final question from me. Debbie, what are your plans for taking this work forward in Carmarthenshire?
Well, it's already changed the way that we're engaging with staff, and that will inform kind of the future engagement with citizens. So we've already made some changes, which is good. We've started to reach out to colleagues within the council and to look at community resources across the county. not just within our own department, but with waste management, with parks. There's quite a lot of exciting work going on. And of course, we've got our community connectors that are now busy looking at what's reopening. So that's quite exciting.
And we're quite clear now that services will be focused on what matters to the individual, that they'll be based around communities of interest and local need, and not the current service setup and service capacity. We'll be looking to develop individual circles of support rather than support based around what a service traditionally offered. And in the traditional locality, we'll be looking at delivering wherever the person lives.
And we're also going to be clearer about what we deliver, including being specific about where support is really respite for carers, and be explicit about that rather than it being just an aside. We're looking to facilitate co-production to inform the commissioning cycle. So that will hopefully be more productive in the future. We're also looking to review funding to ensure equity and efficiency. And that could include things like better use of pool direct payments and third sector locality funds and those sorts of things. And we are looking to develop communication streams to inform strategic plans and community development. So again, kind of how we fit in with sort of community regeneration and so on.
Yeah, I absolutely echo all of that. We want to continue the development of the day opportunities as a model which delivers sort of dynamic, locally based opportunities. That will be direct delivery, community development, individualised circles of support. And we think that this could be supported via the development of locality teams, sort of local area coordination, but most definitely wider collaboration with the citizen and other providers and existing community groups.
Thank you, Sharon. That's excellent. And thank you, Debbie, too. Adrian, if I could turn to you, do you have any concluding thoughts about this work and its relevance to commissioners and others across Wales?
Yes, I think it illustrates how the principles of the Act can be used and should be used to reshape services so that they achieve the best outcomes. And not just individual services, but the whole network of services in an area. The principles also provide an agenda for conversations with stakeholders, staff, families, care managers, providers, and so on, that not only has a firm basis in legislation, but is unarguable good sense. Who wouldn't want to see more well-being outcomes, or reduced dependency, or less silos, or more collaboration? And it's been a really enjoyable shared learning experience. And I hope that the future for social care in Wales includes more and more opportunities for commissioners, providers, and others to participate in action learning activities like this, locally, regionally, and nationally.
One final question, Sharon and Debbie, I hope you don't mind. Would you encourage other care managers and commissioners to use the principle-based process for evaluation, redesign, and commissioning?
Absolutely. I've already had several conversations with my commissioning colleagues, and they're really excited. And I think going back to one of the points I made about understanding what we wanted to achieve from this, they should have been involved from the very beginning. We should have involved them in this conversation from the beginning. They want to take this forward. They want to see us developing an actual tool that we can systematically review using these principles, and it will underpin all of our delivery moving forward. I'd actually urge, if you're going to do this, get your commissioners involved. The initial conversations have been really exciting.
Thank you, Sharon. I think Adrian actually is about to polish off a tool or a step-by-step guide to actually help commissioners to do that. So that's great. It's great to hear that you're requesting that, and I can let you know that one will be available. So I guess that leaves us to round up and say good luck with the ongoing service redesign. And yes, this commit to talking to one another again after a certain period of time to make sure that you are on track. I do intend to follow you closely in your next steps. And just to say thank you all very much for participating today in the conversation.